chutzpah. That's a Yiddish word describing someone who kills his parents and then begs for mercy on the grounds he's an orphan. And chutzpah describes yet another right-wing front group being put together by the ex-vice president's daughter, Liz Cheney, and William Kristol, the neoconservative propagandist who has used others as frontmen in the past, such as Dan Quayle and Sarah Palin. He loves those people out front. Now he's got Liz Cheney out there pushing the old line and selling the old gang that pushed the U.S. invasion of Iraq using talk of nuclear weapons and bogus Iraq ties to 9/11. And are now pushing for war with Iran and more war in Afghanistan. Here they come again with a new face, the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Their new face, Liz Cheney. Welcome back to Hardball. Liz Cheney, the daughter of the former vice president, is taking on a higher profile role these days. She's the face of a new group, Keep America Safe, they call themselves, that plans to take on President Obama for reversing Bush-era foreign policy. And the man behind the new group, William Kristol, who relentlessly pushed for the war in Iraq and was wrong in his predictions of the war's outcome. So what's the real goal of Keep America Safe? David Corn is the Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones Magazine, and Michael Isikoff is an MSNBC contributor and Newsweek investigative reporter. Well, I'm a fan of that great book by Ayn Rand, Fountainhead, and there's a guy in there named Ellsworth Tilley. He's an old lefty, and all he does is create these front groups, one after another. Now, the neoconservative crowd, some of them are accused of being just old Trotskyites, but the names are American Enterprise Institute, the Project for the New American Century, Americans for Victory Over Terrorism, Coalition for Democracy in Iran, Committee for the Liberation of Iraq, Committee on the Present Danger, I love that one, and Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Here we got another one. They love creating these groups. Why do they do it? Why don't they just write their op-ed pieces in the newspaper and move on?
Well, it's Keep America Safe. Who's against that, Chris? You know,
who pays for this stuff?
But you nailed it on the head. This is a tactic that comes out of left-wing politics in the 30s and 40s. Yeah. That these guys come from, genetically speaking. Their fathers and grandfathers were all lefties. And so it's one committee after another, and it just, you create a different funding stream. You make it seem like there's more than 20 guys with a phone booth.
I always wonder, is there one per committee? I mean, let me ask you this. Liz Cheney, a very delightful young woman. I don't want to be delightful. I've met her socially. She's great. You can chat with her and talk with her. It's not just anything stranger about her at all. Right. Her father, different story maybe. But why is she out there teaming up with Bill Kristol? Kristol's had an interesting career. He's a brilliant guy. Right. He was he's a columnist for the New York Times. That didn't work out. He was a commentator on ABC for a while. That didn't work out. He runs a magazine, which I do read every week, the Weekly Standard. He what else does he do? He does all kinds of Committee on the Present Danger. Dan Quayle's brain.
Yeah.
Look,
and he discovered Sarah Palin up there on that river trip. Those guys, Fred Barnes and he were on a trip up there, and they found her. She swam out to the boat or something. I don't know what happened.
Liz Cheney is the softer, gentler face of her father. But the views she has
that's hard to be.
But she seems like she's unheard.
The views she's espoused are identical to those of her father. Neither her father or Bill Kristol has ever acknowledged error for anything, any of the misstatements they made about the Iraq War, about the war on terror during the entire Bush administration. They've never acknowledged that they might have gotten some things wrong, that they might have overstated some things, and neither has Liz Cheney.
Okay, just to give an example, here's Kristol's comment in 2002 before the Iraq War. We can remove Saddam Hussein because that could start a chain reaction in the Arab world that would be very healthy. Let me read the next quote from him. Keep going here. In February 2003, Kristol said this of Saddam Hussein: he's got weapons of mass destruction. At some point, he will use them or give them to a terrorist group to use. If we free the people of Iraq, we will be respected in the Arab world. I think we'll be respected around the world for helping the people. We were hated for that war, and nobody called us liberators. It's complete nonsense. Here he is talking about, this is Iran. He wants to go to war in Iran. We might consider countering the act of Iranian aggression with a military strike against Iranian nuclear. 3 years ago he's doing, and he says, why wait? Does anyone think a nuclear Iran? He's such a hawk. And these guys never served in the military, and they're always pushing for war.
Well, he's gotten everything wrong up to now. And the announcement they put out today of this new group, Liz Cheney said that the problem with Barack Obama is that his policies are too radical. This is a guy who's already put 21,000 more troops into Afghanistan. Yeah. Every day he's sending Predator drones into Pakistan, and they've already picked off in the last couple of months the Taliban.
How many wars does Cheney and Kristol want us to be fighting at the same time? They want want Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, just fighting everybody.
Cheney clearly wanted more aggressive action against Iran and lost during the Bush's second term. But that said, look, this is a real political vulnerability for Obama. It's something the Obama White House are worried about. Not so much this group per se, but the Guantanamo, the whole cluster of issues of national security.
Tell me how it hurts against them.
Well, look, they have already pulled back on Guantanamo. It is very unlikely they're going to meet their deadline of closing it by January. And why? Because of the congressional opposition and their fear of going up against the hard right talking about Obama letting terrorists into the country. That spooked them. That spooked them from the very first weekend that they were going to.
But on that subject, there's two kinds of prisoners. There's the kind of prisoner you can make a case against in court, and you don't worry about habeas corpus or anything else. You're going to put this guy away for 20, 30 years for terrorism. Then there are those people who have sworn allegiance to Al Qaeda but haven't done anything wrong yet. They're hard. What do you do with those guys? And that is a legitimate
question. Well, they are wrestling with that, and they haven't figured it out.
Well, the issue also is you can put them in supermax facilities in the United States.
On what grounds? Without suing to get out?
You could transfer them the way you're holding them in Gitmo as you come up with a legal solution to this. I mean, the argument that they can't be brought to our shores because it would endanger us is silly. But
legally they would have rights once they got ashore.
I think politically putting the Cheney name on any attack on Barack Obama is good for Barack Obama.
I think
Cheney is so discredited. I mean, Bill Kristol probably has a better, approval ratings these days than Dick Cheney or Liz Cheney. So it doesn't really help.
Darth Vader. Even Bill Kristol was calling him Darth Vader in a column the other day. But he is sort of a Dr. Strangelove character. He's a guy that salutes every war effort. He always wants to fight. Always seems to want to torture. I mean, it's hard not to caricaturize
Bill Kristol or Cheney?
Either one. Cheney more as a cartoon.
Look, here's where I think this can make a difference. I talked to one of their strategists today. They are going to be raising money. They've got some seed money from wealthy donors. They do want to run targeted TV ads in congressional districts. If they get some traction, they can be effective. They can be a political force to be reckoned with. So I don't think that the Obama White House is going to so easily write this off.
Do you think that the Obama team still would prefer to fight with the right wing than fight with elected Republicans? They'd rather talk to these guys and fight with Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck or these guys, go after all them. He'd rather go after that, fight them, than fight Boehner, because the Republicans are getting close as competitive forces on these votes coming up. And look at these numbers. That vote as to how you're going to vote for Congress next election is very close.
It's so much easier for them to run against the talk show hosts and Dick Cheney and anybody connected to the Bush era than it is to go against generic
let me ask you, Mike. You seem to be challenging this question. Do you think it's smart for the right, center right, whatever you want to call the coalition, hawkish right, to be identifying with Bush and Cheney going into next year?
No, I don't think that they want to be identified with Bush and Cheney, but I guarantee that if they do get a little traction, if they're raising money, it's not going to be the faces of George Bush and Dick Cheney.
Do we ever get a list of where this money? By the way, do we ever get this? You're an investigative reporter. Do we ever get disclosure on where the money comes from? Not that it would prove anything.
You get it piecemeal. There are a number of wealthy donors that have funded groups like this, very similar to this. Sheldon Adelson in Las Vegas.
Oh, I know.
Sembler
in
Florida. There are people who put money behind these kind of groups. They're likely the same kind of people who are putting money behind this.
Now they try to do it. They did try to do it in 2008, and it completely fizzled. It didn't work. And
he's an amazing guy. I met him one time. I said, "How do you get involved in the gambling industry?" He said,
Fox News noisemakers Cheney and Kristol still say invading Iraq was the right thing to do. It was practically Kristol's idea. Torturing suspects is okay and should not be prosecuted. Detaining suspects forever is okay. Kristol has advocated war with Iraq, Iran, North Korea, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, and Cleveland. Cheney had the political foresight and judgment to serve as campaign co-chair for Fred Thompson and then as senior foreign policy advisor to Mitt Romney, saying it would be a sad day for Republicans if Senator McCain were nominated. Kristol joking to Politico that their new group would help launch her political career, something she quickly denied. Smooth message discipline on the rollout, guys. So what do they want? To save America from President Obama, as illustrated in a new web ad criticizing him for not announcing a new Afghanistan strategy yet.
He hasn't reached a conclusion, I suppose, because he's spending all his time preparing for Letterman and speeches, but to school children, that he hasn't been able to focus on a war in which our soldiers are in the field getting shot at.
Not enough time for decision, but plenty of time for Letterman. golf, a beer summit, more golf.
Keep us safe, other than, keep us safe. Carried out as many drone strikes this year so far as Bush did all of last year. Killed Pakistan's Taliban leader this August. Sent commandos to kill a top al-Qaeda terrorist in Somalia last month after years of failed Bush attempts to do so using only missiles. And here, multiple arrests in just the past month. The Washington Post reporting that after Obama first learned about the alleged Zazi plot in August, he got briefings 3 times a day on it. And by the way, never boasted that he personally broke it up as Bush would have, nor dismissed it as Bush did when he told the CIA briefer who tried to warn him about al-Qaeda hijackings in August 2001, all right, you've covered your ass now. And even after September 11th, literally, he put terrorism aside for golf.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.